really happy to have a panel from our industry. And what I'm going to do is ask all of you to introduce yourself, your name, the company or organization that you're with, and really a brief background, how long you have worked in the specific industry. And I would love to hear what drives you every day. I think that's really important, especially on a Friday afternoon. What drives you to stay in this industry? So let's start with Carlos Santamaria. Carlos, you're on mute.
You hit me right up. I thought I would multitask and listen to the bios, but got me right out of the gate. So good afternoon, everyone. Carlos Santamaria, the regional director in the ECU sector, and also I'm the principal for CES Advisors, an energy and consulting firm. I've been consulting with the community colleges for about 7-8 years now. And over the last couple of years as a regional director in the Bay Area, we're doing some kind of cool things. I also represent clients doing different energy efficiency audits. I created a couple pretty cool immersive 360 types of video, 2D and 3D, to where we can bring the student online through this facilities maintenance technician training program. It's a entry level. We have RJV in the Bay Area, but just got finished with our first cohort, and if anyone's interested. But anyways, that's my background, and John's awesome. He is one of our senior individuals that really, is probably doing everything right from a RD standpoint for the region. So you're in great hands.
Thank you, Carlos. And what drives you every day to stay, to work with our community colleges and in this industry? Probably
teaching. I've taught all over the world, in China and across North America, and I just love transferring knowledge to those who want a career in the ECU trades. I've been in it for more than 35 years. I'm actually a product of a community college HVAC program. Then I went back, for advanced, my MBA and different licenses, but teaching students and transferring knowledge.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. All right, next up we have Panama Bartholomew. So go ahead.
Great. Thanks, Tammy, and thanks, VitalLink, for having me, and all the educators for all the work that you do, particularly after the year we've had. I really appreciate all your efforts teaching kids from home, teaching remotely. It's amazing what you've had to do the last year. So I run an organization called the Building Decarbonization Coalition, and we are a coalition of utilities like Southern California Edison, manufacturers of heating equipment, water heating equipment, HVAC equipment, the design and construction community, so engineering firms, builders, local governments, and other nonprofits. And we all work together to eliminate emissions or pollution from the built environment. So basically, we're working to run all of our buildings off of Southern California Edison's clean electricity and start to get rid of fossil gas in buildings. I'm a recovering bureaucrat. I spent about 15 years in state government up in Sacramento, working for the legislature and also working for state agencies, including during the last time the country was looking at a stimulus program under President Obama. And through that, I had the opportunity to run the state's clean energy workforce training program, where we invested over $25 million into community colleges and workforce investment boards to bring about some early training in the 2008-2009 timeframe around renewable energy and building upgrades. So I have a real special place in my heart for all the work that we're talking about today with education and bringing the young folks into this industry. What drives me quite often is coffee, but then also just this amazing transition that we're under, all of the opportunities for jobs and the economic development that's going to come from our transition and bringing other people into it.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. The future is definitely bright. Next up, we have Rachel Davis with the Municipal Water District of Orange County. Rachel?
Tammy?
Welcome.
Yeah, I'm Rachel Davis, and I am with the Municipal Water District of Orange County. We are a water wholesaler, and we do serve most of the retailers in Orange County. I have an interesting position there. I'm the Water Loss Control Program Supervisor, and it's a relatively new program. We're really focused on leak detection, for one. So it's kind of a nice bridge between water use efficiency and the sort of operations construction side of things. This is my 12th year in the water industry. And before joining MODOC, I worked for a retailer, the Long Beach Water Department. And recently I got involved in teaching. So I actually teach the water use efficiency practitioner course at Santiago Canyon College.
Great.
Yeah.
That's great.
And, so I have a much bigger appreciation for teachers now. I really do. My dad was a teacher, and I don't know how he did it for all those years. So for me, I think there's just nothing more fascinating than water. I truly am a water nerd through and through. Yep. I think our water system in California is just so complex, and all of the policies that go along with it just fascinate me, and I love to share that with people.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you, Rachel. What do they say about water and whiskey?
Water's for drinking and whiskey's for drinking and water's for fighting. There we go.
Right. That's right. So yes, I've learned a lot about water over the years too. Definitely interesting. Well, thank you. Mark I don't see Mark on the screen. Is Mark Ellis with us? Okay. We were supposed to be joined by Mark Ellis with Reliance Solar. So maybe he'll join us later. So we're going to go ahead and jump into the questions. And I know for the teachers on here, I have a set of questions that VitaLink provided us, but if there's any questions that you have, feel free to, to stop me and chime in. So the first question we have is what, for the entire panel, the three that we have with us today, what critical and basic skills and techniques would you say are the most important for students to succeed in the sector in energy, construction, and utilities? So let's start with Rachel.
I think for the water industry, a lot of the training is sort of on the job. So I don't think employers are necessarily expecting a high level of knowledge going into it. Although there are certain certifications that are helpful. But I would not underestimate the importance of some sort of basic technological abilities. For example, a lot of forms that used to be done on paper, like meter reading forms, that's very much tablet oriented now. Because of that, almost everyone is sending emails, whether they're at a desk or in the field. And yeah, being able to navigate, say, a work order system that's data-based, that's very important.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Panama, Carlos, what do you have to add? What are the basic skills?
Yeah, so on this panel, I'm going to be speaking to a wide range of different professions. I mean, we're talking everything from folks that are doing like installing water heaters to engineering firms to working at utilities. So I'm going to be a bit general here, but overall, I would say that the utility and the construction space is going through a massive transition right now. I mean, just a massive transition. And so what that requires of people coming in is a lot of flexibility, having a real general set of skills so that they're going to be able to, you think about how much millennials and Gen Z jumps around between different jobs right now. And so having a bunch of different skill sets and not being too tied down to one skill set is going to be really, really important. So, learning some plumbing, learning some electrical, learning some management skills. I think the flexibility and learning a good set of general skills is going to be really important. Critical thinking, I think is one thing that is going to be important in that flexibility so that people are setting themselves up well and being able to look at what are trends happening in society. The human interaction part, the customer service and the high emotional intelligence, I think is just a really critical part, particularly as we look at retrofitting the 13 million homes in California and having to deal with homeowners and landlords and really having to interact with people in that process. And it's going to be critically important whether at a utility or a company to be able to talk to customers, to understand them, to be able to listen and understand their value proposition and be able to make a sale. So I would say those three really.
Yeah, definitely. And earlier during the college panel session, we talked about soft skills, and that gets to that a very exact point, is being able to be part of a team. And that's the amazing thing about this industry is, the technical skills are very important, but it goes hand in hand with those soft skills of being able to work and think critically and problem solve. Carlos, anything else to add?
Well, it's pretty timely finishing up after Panama. He's absolutely right. I think industry has already labeled some of the 10 core in this sector, and whether it's management, maintenance, or building engineering, operating engineering, they include communication, leadership, repairs and maintenance, facilities, information technology, but then there's HVAC, electrical, plumbing, those items. But for me, a class that I just got done teaching online, this pilot, probably there are three, I think, probably a course communication, with the soft skills. And that includes being able to understand Word, send emails, and all the, tools that come along with that. Problem solving and troubleshooting is probably the number one that employers said you can't do enough on the job training when individuals, and that's in a lot of different trades and jobs where they just have the whereabout to be able to think critically, first of all. So they need to understand the basics, the steps, into solving a problem, looking for alternatives, and those types of things. But also, I think we have to start interjecting workplace ethics, because that's going to be really important going forward in this really competitive age. And even though our sector is, as John mentioned, and some of the other regional advisories have mentioned, and the data is, construction and the ECU sector very well, and facilities management overall, we're going to experience an explosion here over the next couple of years for a lot of reasons. Some of these things are going to be in front of us, and the technical skills, some of those things are one thing, but communication, problem solving, and the ethics is really going to define us, I think, for the next 10, 20 years.
Yeah, absolutely, Carlos. I work at Southern California Edison, and I'm not an engineer. I don't have a technical background. I work in public affairs, and we could probably spend a couple of minutes talking about what that actually is. But I think it is very much about problem solving and troubleshooting. But the number one priority for the company is safety. And I think that's right along the lines with what you just said, Carlos, is about the ethics, right? That making decisions that put safety at the very top of our priorities. Moving on to the next question is, are there specific licenses or certifications that students should complete before applying for a career? And I think this is mostly a question probably for Carlos, and maybe Rachel, you might have some. I don't think Panama has much to add here. So Carlos.
I think at an entry level, of course, the OSHA 10,
There are some
you want to get into if it freeze or?
Yeah, I think you just froze there for a minute,
Okay.
Carlos.
Yeah. So depending upon which area you want to go into, that define the specific license or credential. But I really don't have an answer for that, whether you're going into an HVAC career, be an EPA certified, or a refrigeration license, or some community colleges have a great 2-year degree program. I guess it all depends on where you're going to specialize in.
Rachel?
Yeah, similarly, there are some real niche certifications. For example, there's a Backflow tester certification. That's a relatively short course. It's a real specialization in our field. That, if someone chose to go in that direction, that would be great. But there's some broader ones like the distribution and treatment certifications that are relatively short processes to gain, typically about a semester-long course for each of those, and then an exam. And if you were interested in going into more of the conservation, water use efficiency there is a water use efficiency practitioner certification as well.
Okay.
Actually, Pam,
yeah, go ahead.
I do have something to add here, amazingly.
Sure. Sure.
So and this will be on the residential side, the Building Performance Institute, or BPI, is the organization that best certifies individuals who want to work in all the different aspects of improving the performance of buildings. So they do certifications for really whole building retrofits and performance, but they also get down to the individual systems. So HVAC certification, a insulation certification. And so it may be that students aren't necessarily ready for the full certification. Some may be, but I think that's a great organization with really good accessible curriculum that I think would be great for any teacher to be able to see, okay, this is preparing students for what we're going to be trying to do in California. This is a great organization to be modeling towards helping folks get those certifications in the near future.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Yeah, the Building Performance Institute.
Yeah. Did you? Yeah, I was going to say, did you share that link or resource with Vital Link? That'd be great, so they can include that on their platform. The next question, I'm going to ask another question and maybe open it up to others that are on the line along the same lines of certifications, but focusing on entry level and the kind of programs or opportunities that young people should be looking at. What entry level career opportunities should a student look for while they're taking classes? So that's one. The other thing is, and answer the question that you feel like you can answer. The second question is, what internship or apprenticeship opportunities do you suggest students complete before applying for a career in the sector? So what are the opportunities while they're taking classes, and what are those other opportunities before actually applying for a job in the industry? So the three of you, any takers?
I'll start. We have some programs across the state at a couple different colleges, and it's picking up a lot of momentum. It's a facilities management talent pipeline training, and that is we target business administration students, business management, finance, accounting, architectural students that are undecided where they want to go, and a career pathway in facilities management. You can work anywhere in any venue, and you're doing your specialized area, taking care of buildings in the built environment. You get involved with people, some really cool technology. You could travel the world. So that's one thing that's at a little higher professional level. On the lower level, or I should say the technical level, is facilities maintenance, where that's entry level. We have some certificates out there where they could get into them. We're really pushing K through 12 so that we build that pipeline into the ECU programs to get them aware. And if they see an area they want to specialize in, whether it's one of the construction trades or refrigeration, air conditioning, plumbing, or electrical or water, then they can go into those.
Rachel?
Sure. Some of the larger water group organizations have formal programs. So like the Metropolitan Water District has a formal apprenticeship program. The Long Beach Water Department has what they're calling an academy, where they were bringing on about 30 folks at a time to kind of go through their own internal training program to work in their treatment plant. As for, an organization like mine, we will hire interns. It tends to be, 1 or 2 at a time. Those are always advertised to Santiago Canyon College. We do have I think a pretty good relationship there. And as a professor there, I'm always getting notifications of internship opportunities and bringing those to the students. I think when you're in school, I started while I was still doing my graduate degree in what was called a non-career program. So it was 32 hours a week that I was working for Long Beach. So there are opportunities, but some may take a little more investigation. And I would say if it is hard maybe to get a spot with an actual water district or water department, working as an apprentice for a plumber would be a good alternate path.
Thank you, Rachel. Panama, anything to add?
Yeah, so a few ideas, and again, looking at a variety of different job areas. I mean, I think one of the most amazing resources we have in the state is the free education programs through a lot of our energy utilities. So Southern California Edison, Pacific Gas and Electric, San Diego Gas and Electric, SMUD all offer free education programs on a regular basis among a whole different topics: renewable energy, building electrification, energy efficiency. And particularly now in the time of COVID, all of these are now remote. And so that's millions of dollars that ratepayers are investing in education programs, that there's no reason that students who are in some of these technical fields and thinking about it can't take those and start to get exposed to some of the language and the culture and what it feels like and the types of things that the people in this profession do. So I think it's a good way to see leaders in the field who are also inspirational, good speakers, be able to present a good opportunity for students that are looking at that space. So I think those are amazing resource. For people that are interested in the residential side, I cannot stress enough, go work for an installer, a water heater installer, an HVAC installer, and there's no better life experience than, when I was 19 and 20, I was crawling around in crawl spaces and crawling around in attics. I mean, you want to have that story the rest of your life. And it gives you just the experience of being up in those situations and really learning how buildings are built and how they work and don't work. It can't really be beat. So I think working for an installer, and those installers are always looking for entry-level positions to do some of that dirty work. And then a city building department. And I'm going to drop 2 programs into the chat, but the city building departments and the opportunities to work, and particularly with the inspection teams about city building departments. I mean, they're always looking for interns, and it's just a great way to really understand the market, to be able to learn about buildings and common problems with buildings. And there's 2 great programs, the Civic Spark program and a brand new Civic Spark Climate Corps program, which is a program that provides stipends to cities to be able to bring on young community college graduates and young undergraduates to be able to come in and work for cities on different aspects of different programs related to climate change or related to energy. And so I will drop links to both those programs into the chat as well.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. There's so many different opportunities. And one thing I would add that's more informal than the formal is, I know at Southern California Edison, we have, I would say that everybody here at Edison, and myself included, would love to talk to young people. And I think that's something else that I can't stress enough is, encouraging our students to seek out mentors and to seek out people that are currently in the field and asking for an informational interview. Before pandemic, we had the opportunity to maybe take people on job sites and things like that. Hopefully in the future, we'll have those opportunities too, but also just encouraging your young students to reach out. You could do that through me at Edison. I'll make sure I connect you to the right people, but we have a lot of employees that are willing to spend an hour or 2 with a young person and really talking about what their job is, what they do day to day, and having those informal connections could help them, have a leg in terms of future job opportunities. So for the next question, this is more kind of information that we can help our teachers understand and coach their students or guide their students. What specifically would you look for when you're considering hiring a recent grad for a technician position? So I know you guys are not doing direct hires, right, necessarily, although Panama, I think you just hired a friend of mine to work as your state director, Jose Torres. He's amazing. But, maybe the people that you work with, right, what are they looking for in a recent, an entry level, a recent grad for a technician position? So Rachel, maybe you can talk to some of the folks there that you've interacted with. What are your colleagues looking for?
Yeah, I have hired 2 folks recently at kind of that starting technician level. So one was an intern and one is full-time. And enthusiasm was probably the #1 thing. They were just really excited about the job. It was a new type of job that we hadn't had at our organization before. So we knew that they were going to need a lot of training, And we were happy to provide that. We just wanted to make sure that they wanted to learn. So that was number one, but also, especially for the full-timer, just that he had a lot of customer service experience. He had actually worked for a pest control company prior, so was very used to going on to folks' property and having conversations with them, and just a breadth of experience in the water field. He had also touched many different parts of the water industry, so it was great. He was a great hire.
Can we ask questions, faculty?
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So why is the customer service so important for entry level? I see that in management, but I don't see that as an important thing in entry level. And you know, I keep hearing soft skills over and over again, and that's because it's coming from management. That's important for management, but I don't think it's important for entry level. I think the technical skills is important for entry level. I think the soft skills will come automatic. They can even come in a Saturday workshop and be done with. And I think it's overemphasized way too much. I may be wrong, but
I would love to answer that. We had a group of 10 advisors from companies from Facebook to Google to CB Richard LS. We had one of our regional directors, and we went through, and these were companies that hire facilities maintenance people all over the Bay Area in the United States. And their number one criteria for those skills that are lacking for new technicians was communications, because think of it, when these technicians are in the building, they're interfacing with their workforce. And if they get a call and they can't look them in the eye, they can't assimilate what they're saying, they can't respond. And, you know, that's the face of the organization, first of all. Second of all, you know, you are in some critical environments where a facilities maintenance tech or any type of tech needs to be able to understand what the calls are, document things. You know, they couldn't stress those skills enough. Analytical and problem solving are really important too, but I think you could just Google any organization and company and they'll tell you community skills and soft skills are probably some of the most important. So I was surprised too.
Carlos?
yeah, but if they can't fix it, what good is it them being able to talk and fill out forms? To me, if they're able to fix something, then that will solve all the communication skills. You know, I think it's overemphasized way too much. We have a customer service class in our college, and so most of our students, we interact with them. So to me, it's a foundation. It's a
Well, it's and just one last thing, and go ahead, Panama, after I'm done. It's the stigma too, and you're absolutely.
Carlos, you just froze a little bit, and I know
Eye
Bruce,
contact,
okay.
how they communicate. It's really hard for an individual to be effective. So
I think Bruce had his hand up. Bruce Noble.
Yes. Bruce Noble, go ahead, and then we'll go to Panama and Rachel.
Thank you, Carlos. Really quickly, as we've done a number of these studies, Mr. Santa Maria, myself, and John Caffrey, we've really tried to, that's our job, is to identify gaps between programs and needs. I mean, that is our job. That's the job we do. And we've done a lot of this, and it breaks down, you know, we can talk about self-awareness, and we can talk about problem solving, and we can talk about communications. But what the takeaway I got, and I don't remember if Carlos Enrique was there, if Carlos was at that meeting, but we had a big advisory for HVAC contractors. And they said, listen, you send us somebody who will show up on time, look me in the eye, shake my hand with his pants pulled up, and I'll probably hire him. Okay. And there's some pretty basic foundational needs they have. Now, all those could be translated over into communication, self-awareness, consideration, all those things. But that was their closing statement at this workshop that we had. And it's been a couple of years. And but so it's all true, and I understand both sides of the argument, but to me, the number one need, enthusiasm is displayable, but I think that the number one requirement for success in any of these middle skills jobs is curiosity. And if you're not curious and if you're not interested in trying to learn and think that the fact that you spent 2 years earning a certificate with a piece of paper that makes you eligible or qualified, that's a fallacy. So I think the curiosity piece, of course, enthusiasm and all those, we talk about a whole lot of this emotional intelligence, aware of other people, all those things. I get all of that. But anyway, I'll back off. But it's really pretty big, fundamental stuff. If we can teach them how to read, write, how to read a ruler, it's some pretty basic stuff. They'll put them to jobs.
Thank you, Bruce. And thank you, Michael, for the comment that you put in the chat box. I'm going to go to Panama and Rachel. So Panama, you have something to add to this conversation?
Sure. Yeah, I can, Mr. Akita, I can see your point. And I think, if you have a young person coming out with some really solid technical skills, that's going to be really attractive to an employer. And I work with a ton of employers. That's who makes up our membership. And what they say time and again is, we can train them on the technical side. It helps if they have a technical background, but a lot of times we're putting these people in people's homes. These people are for the home retrofits or inside people's homes, and you need to be able to have someone that can understand the importance of being inside somebody's home and doing that kind of work. And I would say the other side of it really is working in a team.
Well, maybe that's the problem. Our program is commercial. It's not residential.
Together with other people on teams and understand the value of teamwork. That's the work that is done in energy and utilities. It's all teamwork now. And if you can't work in a team, you will not be able to get ahead in this industry.
One last thing I want to add from an ROI standpoint, and this is really important, from the building sector that I've been involved in for over 35 years. It's a 3-to-1 ratio of it takes 3 times as much money to go find a customer or a tenant as it does to retain a tenant. So it costs a lot less to keep your customer and your tenant happy versus having to go out and get a new customer or tenant. So just consider that.
All right, Rachel, do you want to close out?
Oh, okay, never mind.
Mr. Would you like to say something else?
Yeah, I just want to refer to Panama. Maybe that's I'm coming from a different point of view where our program is geared toward commercial, not residential. We don't send our students to residential. They're going to be commercial installers, and then from there they're going to work their way up to service. So they're going to be dealing with facility managers, and facility managers, they care about fixing something, not how wonderful they talk and all that stuff. Excuse me for being blunt, but that's the feedback I get from them. And so we don't get into the residential. We do straight to the commercial, and we make them technical, and we make them so they can fix things. And 9 out of 10 times, the customer will be more happy when something is fixed rather than just self-talking them to death.
All right, sir. Rachel, anything else to add?
Just the last thought. I would say that there is a big difference between someone who's working on a team in the water industry, because you are right. There is still someone digging the hole, and the person digging the hole does not necessarily need to have amazing customer service skills. So there is still a place for folks. And also, people don't have a lot of interaction with their water agencies. Mostly they pay the bill. So if they see someone out in the street doing some work and they approach them, that's probably the one interaction they're going to have with them all year or the next 5 years. And we want to make sure it's a positive interaction. But you're right, that is because we're like a public facing agency. Looks like my coworker Tiffany has something to say.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Just another perspective. So it's not necessarily when you say having business acumen or knowing how to behave in a work environment or how to interact with your coworkers. It's not just the customer service level. And it's not just about management. So for example, I lead a team of 5 people, and if they had a poor attitude, if they weren't self-starters, if they didn't know how to approach me or how to approach another team member, that would be a real problem. And I think having a student have all of these skills helps interdepartmentally as well. So it's not necessarily only being able to speak or present yourself well to the public, but it's also really working with the people in your organization and making sure that everything flows right. When you feel like it's not your responsibility or it's not your problem, there ends up being a problem with your managers, with your teammates, on different job sites that you have. So it really is very important. And there are statistics that show, thank you, Ian, for the first one, that 25% of new hires don't make it past probation, primarily because of lack of business acumen. I looked further into that because I have presentations upcoming. Most don't make it 18 months, and for the same reason. So they may pass the first probationary period, but after 18 months, nearly half don't make it past 18 months. And a lot of it, you think about when someone is written up for something, it's usually something personal. It's not usually for poor job performance.
And I think that's why we're having so many problems within the K through 12 to community college pipeline, because industry, recruiters, and parents' stigmas of what these technicians are like. Oh, sure, they can fix things and their pants are down and they don't have to look at anyone, but can they look you in the eye and say, hey, I fixed it, and these are some of the problems. It's a whole different level of technician. That's a minimum bar to be proficient, to be able to fix something. From there, we're taking it up a notch so that we can recruit people within this career pathway. That's the problem we're up against.
GP has a comment too. Go ahead, GP.
I have a question to the panelists. Tammy mentioned earlier, right now, our society is going through the transition to the clean energy and zero carbon society, right? So the water heater, for example, it will go through electrification. So it's a very different technology. And also integration of renewable energy into the grid. And those energies are intermittent energy source. So it's a lot of a dynamic scheduling, and the technology we are facing is really is emerging technology, and it's going to really transform how US build up the infrastructure, just like in Highway 66. To me, this is really the time we are going to build that for this generation of a society. So as an educator, I always wonder how the job market out there and in your sectors, right? So you are under a lot of policy transformation pressures and want to have intake of a better or the clean energy technology, and we need to really supply the future worker to really deliver that solution. So how can we work together in that sense? Policy, community, education, and job markets.
Who would like to take this question? And I think it's related to the next question that we were going to ask the panel.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah. Regarding some of the things that are changing in this, what are the changes in the industry that you feel students should be prepared for ahead of time? So who would like to take this question from the panel?
Laney College has a high performance building operations professional training course that we created a few years back, and that was taught in LA. And that goes through all of the different essential competencies to turn a building into from a non-performing, inefficient building to a high performance building. And they cover policy, energy analytics, auditing, and all those things. That's the best answer that I give. It's a comprehensive approach to a number of different skill sets that you have to understand and master.
Yeah, I would say some of the big changes right now are basically, as GP said, we are moving away from burning things. burning things in our buildings and burning things in our cars, and we're moving towards an electrified future. And that's going to bring about some massive changes in need for retrofits of commercial boilers, commercial HVAC systems, commercial kitchen systems, and significant generation and distribution systems. And so what I would say is, you cannot go wrong putting students into the electrical field. That's really where we're going right now, is into electricity deeply, basically on the entire thing from transmission all the way through to use. So you can't go wrong. Electric vehicle infrastructure. The city right now is investing billions of dollars into electric vehicle infrastructure, and it's just going to be a ton of really great, high quality, high paying jobs, doing really important work, not only for individual cars, but also for fleets and really large scale fleet work. I think the work that Rachel and Tiffany are doing, the water infrastructure needs, I'll let them speak to them, but I just see huge opportunities moving forward in water infrastructure. And then you just, our home building, we're going to be doing in California. And the fact that we change our building code every 3 years to make it more and more stringent for energy, getting involved in the energy side of home building, I think it's well-paying jobs, and I think it's only going to be safe into the future as we continue to try to build more homes to house everybody.
Rachel, Tiffany?
Sure. I think that, leak detection is a big future for water. We've just gotten started with it, and there are actually state regulations coming that are going to set individual targets for each water retailer. So every retailer is going to be looking for some way to meet that target, and whether it's hiring internal staff or through a contractor, leak detection is going to be pretty important. And also automated metering infrastructure, AMI, is still something that's rolling out across the industry. And again, some folks are doing it internal, some are hiring contractors to do that work. There's a lot more that's coming, but I would say those are the two that are most immediate.
And I would say that in the next 10 years, we've done some research, and we're actually working with the Centers of Excellence for some brand new numbers. So I'm hoping to get that for the entire state, since the Water Energy Education Alliance, which is an organization that I lead for Southern California, needs those numbers, but I think the water industry as a whole needs those numbers. We talk consistently about this big wave of retirements, the silver tsunami, but no one has specific data as to what exactly those jobs are, when they're going to happen. But we do know that that we're expecting a big wave of retirements in the next 10 years, the next decade. I personally don't think we're prepared for that, because we haven't had to look for employees in decades. People who enter the water industry field, they stay there. Rachel's been there for 12 years. I've been there for 13. We work with someone who just retired as a district engineer with our organization. He was there for 37 years and he joined the board of directors. So we tend to stick around and get nice and comfy. So I think that we have a lot of steps to take to make sure that we're meeting the needs that are coming. And that's from the very first step all the way to the end, starting with providing equitable opportunities, and then recruitment, and then working with human resources to make sure that what we need are aligning with what they're looking for. Because, oh my gosh, I could just go on and on. The difference between the way educators speak versus industry, and bridging those gaps. So we have a lot of work to do, but we're slowly getting there, and we're excited about that.
And that's why panels like these are so important, to kind of bridge those that are working in the industry with those that are teaching and shaping the skills and minds of our young people, the future workforce. We're running out of time, so I want to end up on one question. And this is really, for our panelists to really think about what you would say to a student, to a young person, a person that's is looking at their education and thinking about joining this clean energy future. What advice do you have for the student who is interested in pursuing a career in the industry? So what would you say to them? Let's start with Rachel.
I would say to get certified in treatment and distribution as early as they can. I would encourage them to connect with a community college that has classes like Santiago Canyon. I would encourage them to follow some of the business email groups, basically, like the BC Water News. There are these emails that go out that advertise positions, and also just to stay informed. There are, for example, there's a water dialogue that happens once a month. It used to happen in person at Metropolitan Water. You don't actually have to be an industry member to attend. It's open to everyone. And I used to attend them as a student. So just going there, getting information, meeting people, really, really helpful. So even if you're not on the inside of the industry, you can still get a good look into it.
Thank you, Rachel. When you say early, how early? And I'm thinking about my 7-year-old right now. How early?
Yeah, that's a good question. I do think you have to be a high school graduate to get
got it.
those certifications, but
yeah, but joking aside, I feel like sometimes we do need to educate our kids younger and younger in terms of what the opportunities are so that they're looking for it, right, as they start high school. All right, thank you, Rachel. Thank you so much. And it's great to have a woman on the panel. So moving over to Carlos. Santa Maria.
I would say, and having gone through this pathway, is go and look at some of the different trades, talk to different people, look at some of the programs out there, and see what you're interested in. You know, these jobs, I tell them all the time when I do K through 12 in adult ed presentations, is that this career pathway is not only recession proof, it's been proven to be pandemic proof. People have been busy. I've been traveling all over the country the last year, and buildings are still operating. There are still staff in them, and it's not above livable wage, it's thriving wages for families, lifelong, without any chance of getting fired or laid off. You know, they're very secure jobs, so that's always a good selling point.
Thank you. And you can move, right? I mean, there's a lot of flexibility in terms of picking up, portable jobs and skills. All right, I'm going to go to Panama, and I don't know, Bruce, did you have a quick comment? I know you raised your hand twice, and I didn't need to ignore you. So.
That's okay, Tammy. I was just going to add that as a parent, you might watch around for high school or middle school summer programs around STEM, because those are very interesting. The program managers will put those on, and they get a lot of students excited about working someplace other than what they thought they might be working. So just look around for those summer programs.
Thank you, Bruce. So for the last 50 seconds, Panama, what are your closing thoughts for a student?
I'll try to do it in 20, and I'll maybe leave it a little controversial. You know, that we're not in an age where all jobs are safe anymore. And the energy sector is going through a really dramatic shift. And so I think it's really inherent, it's really important for educators to be looking at the trends going on in the market and helping students getting into utility work and energy work that's going to be there over the course of their career. And so pushing them into clean energy is going to be the safest path to be able to push students into.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you so much to our panelists, and I appreciate your time, especially on a Friday afternoon, to help our educators shape our future workforce. Thank you.
Thank you for all the work you do.
Thank you. And we'll go back to the main room.
Thank you.